Hi, welcome to WITS, and thank you for attending our online training for our WITS Early Childhood program. My name is Jenny, and I'm a program coordinator at Working in the Schools, and I'm really excited to get you more involved with our kindergarten students. First, I wanted to talk about WITS as an organization. WITS was started in 1991, and we believe we provide a certain amount of context for better understanding our city's public school system. So in the news, you've heard a lot about the recent Chicago public school closures and also the CTU strike that happened 2 summers ago. And it's kind of hard to wrap your head around and really understand what's going on in our public school system. We provide volunteers the opportunity to go into the schools, meet the teachers, meet the administration, and most importantly, the students. And once you are in those environments, you kind of achieve a better context to the variety of situations that's going on in the public school system. And while you're in these environments, you'll also be making an impact while achieving a better understanding. So with this, WITS believes that when mentors focus their energy and time on the success of our city's students, their volunteer service directly impacts the lives of young people and helps support a better public school system. The WITS Early Childhood program has 2 main goals, the first being to improve students' book and print awareness. So this is just a term for children to identify the front versus the back cover of the book, the role of the illustrator and the author in the story, as well as knowing to read left to right. The second goal includes positive perceptions of reading, and this is just really easy during the kindergarten age since students are so enthusiastic and motivated to learn. And we just want to use this program as a tool to encourage and feed that motivation, which will ensure success during the elementary school years. Lastly, WITS aims to provide books to children twice a year so that they can build their own WITS library at home and have those resources to work on their literacy skills with their family. So before working with our kindergarten students, it's really important to know where they fall on the developmental spectrum. So what is happening exactly at the ages of 4 to 6? First off, and most importantly, children are becoming less egocentric. They're realizing that other people have thoughts and feelings, as well as they have their own personal thoughts and feelings, and those may come in conflict with their classmates. So this is a great opportunity for conflict resolution at this age. Along the same vein, children are becoming more empathetic. They're realizing that their actions and words have an effect on those around them, and they care about what other people think about them as well. Children are also starting to express their thoughts and feelings clearly, so verbally versus using their own actions. They're also starting to become more cooperative. Peer relationships are becoming extremely important, and in order to form those relationships, they have to learn how to take turns and share and do all those cooperative acts in the classroom before accomplishing any academic tasks. Children are also improving their memory. They'll remember a book that they read with you 3 weeks ago, and you may not even remember reading that book. But this is just another sign of how fast their brains are growing during this age. They're also accomplishing an awareness of consequences of behavior. You can set clear expectations for them, and they know that when they go against those expectations, there will be consequences. They're also regulating their emotions and behavior so that they can sit quietly and listen in a group setting for up to 15 minutes. And this is how our program is structured so that it's developmentally appropriate. Lastly, though, even though peer relationships are becoming or playing a larger role during this age, adults still play the prominent role when children are stressed or facing any challenges. But remember, it all depends. It all depends on the child's culture, their temperament or personality, or even their mother's prenatal health when they were a baby. So all of these factors combine to impact their spot on the developmental spectrum. So our kindergarten students are working on a variety of literacy skills during this age. The first and most important one is building phonemic awareness. So they're learning how to match the letter symbol with the letter sound, as well as forming blends. They're also constructing a larger vocabulary and an understanding of story structure. So they know that there's a beginning, a middle, and an end, there's a setting, there are characters, there's a conflict, and there's a resolution. So all of those little components that build up to make a whole story. They're also working on identifying upper and lowercase letters, and you'll find that lowercase letters are much easier for them to identify in a text. They're also starting to work on reading comprehension components, such as like predicting what may happen in text. So I always encourage volunteers to have kindergartners make smart predictions. Our kindergartners are such great divergent thinkers, and they can come up with many different reasons or events that may happen in the future for a text. But we encourage you to go back in the story, look at the pictures, and use context clues from the story to make a smart prediction of what will happen next. Also, they're working on answering questions about the content of the story, again, touching on reading comprehension, which they're really going to be working on starting in 3rd grade. So we want to always be intentional with our questions concerning the structure of the story with our students, and I'll touch on that a little bit later. So here are a few reading strategies that we encourage our volunteers to use while reading with their kindergarten student. So first, you can work on book print awareness, so identifying the front and back cover, the title, and the author and the illustrator. You can point to the words as you read them, or you can have the child point to the words as you read them. Or you could have the child identify pictures on the page. These are all different strategies to use, and you'll find that every student is kind of different, and what they gravitate towards to keep them focused during reading time is a variety of different strategies. You can also take turns while reading. Students, you'll find that before Christmas break you'll probably have to read to them most of the time, but after Christmas break students' literacy development has drastically developed, and they'll be really excited to share what they've learned in class. So after Christmas break, I usually give students the option. I say, do you want me to read the story, or do you want to read the story? And usually they really want to read, but since they're still developing those important skills, decoding skills, I think it's always a good idea to alternate turns while reading one page. You read one page and then your student reads the next page, and that kind of gives them more energy to finish out the 15 minutes of our reading time. Another strategy is to demonstrate fluent reading by using proper expressions and pausing appropriately. So, for example, pausing at a comma, stopping at a period, showing inflection at a question mark, not laboring over all the different words. It's just a very smooth reading of the text. And you can also, while using the proper expression, it's always important to use a fun voice. Since our kindergarten students are so enthusiastic about learning, and they react really well to all the different voices you can incorporate in a story, and that really engages them and also gives them context clues to the text. Because when you read in a sad voice, you give them a clue of how the character is feeling, and when you read in lots of different character voices, they understand that there are multiple people in the story, and that those multiple people are saying different things. It's also really important to relate the book to the child. Now this kind of goes back to reading comprehension. Children will always remember things better if they have the text connected to the self. So always try to tap into a child's interests. Say they really are interested in trucks. Try to pick out some books with trucks, and since they're so interested in that area, they'll be engaged in the text, and then remember later on what happened since they found it applicable to themselves. Also, like I touched on a little bit earlier, ask questions before, during, and after reading. This makes a story quality rather than quantity. We think it's more important to really dive into a text rather than read, 5 books in the 15-minute period. So always think about, what do you think this book will be about? Or why do you think the character felt that way? Or at the end, what was your favorite part of the story? This always gives the child a voice during story time, and also helps them remember more, because you're making those self-to-text connections. So program basics. The Early Childhood Program is a weekly literacy program where volunteers spend 20 minutes per student reading. And you as a volunteer will be reading, you'll be with a group of volunteers, and each of you will read with a consistent group of 4 to 5 students each week. WITS will provide books, materials, and an on-site program coordinator to make sure that everything runs smoothly. Okay, so what does that exactly look like? So on your first day, we ask all volunteers to arrive about 10 to 15 minutes early at the school. So you can go to the book bin and pick out about 5 to 6 books to have sitting with you at your reading station. Once the beginning of reading time starts, your program coordinator will go grab the first group of students to read with. So for example, in this instance, she would grab John, Julian, and Christopher. So John would read with Kim, Julian would read with Shibrina, and Christopher would read with Veronica. So this goes on for about 15 minutes, and then the program coordinator would take those kids out and bring in the next group of kids. So for example, Faith, Simon, and Vinicio. You would do 15-minute increments of reading time until you read with all 4 to 5 students in your group. So we've structured the program like this so that volunteers only have to memorize about 4 to 5 student names instead of a whole classroom, while also building this warm and close relationship with students that they can view their progress in their literacy skills throughout the whole school year. You also notice that this program structure really holds our volunteer attendance accountable, because say in this instance Kim wasn't at this week's reading session, then we would have nobody to read with her students. So it's really important that our volunteers place this program as a high priority, since we really do rely on you to accomplish our goals in reading with the whole classroom. So our expectations for mentors are being comfortable with one-on-one tutoring and mentoring, being open, being caring, being excited, and also being able to volunteer for the entire school year. We understand that sometimes we recruit student volunteers, and if you're only able to do half of the school year, that's all right too. We're willing to work with your schedule on that. Our program model requires us to rely on strong volunteer attendance. If one volunteer does not show up, we'll have no one to read with their students, and the students will not be served. This is why we require 80% or higher program attendance. If you have any scheduling conflicts, please be in communication with your program coordinator, whose contact information I'll be in touch with. Next are just a few WITS policies. So first and most important, if you are ever suspicious of child abuse or neglect, please notify your WITS coordinator immediately. So this means that a child has verbally expressed to you that they've been abused, or if you see any physical indications such as marks or bruises on their skin, please go directly to your WITS coordinator, since child abuse is a time-sensitive issue and they are mandated reporters. So they'll walk through every step of the process with you, as well as getting in contact with any of the administrative staff to complete the report. Also, the next 2 points are just CPS policies. Never be alone with your student, and this includes bathroom breaks. So if your child ever has to go to the bathroom or get a drink, just notify your program coordinator and they will take care of it. We can't allow volunteers and children to be outside of the room alone with their student and away from the group. Also, please do not contact your student outside of WITS, nor check your phone or tablet during program time. This is just very distracting for both children and volunteers. And we request that you do not give your student any gifts or candy to avoid any hurt feelings. We will be giving all children books during the holidays and the end of the year, so this will kind of be the good time that everybody gets a present. If you have any questions, you can contact your program coordinator, whose information I will provide during during our 10-minute phone call later on. Okay, next steps include scheduling a 10-minute phone call with me, and my contact information is at the bottom. Feel free to email me with 3 convenient dates and times to just quickly chat about what you took away from our training or if you have any questions. And we'll also go over any last-minute details before your first day. The second thing that needs to be completed are fingerprints. CPS requires all of our volunteers to be fingerprinted before interacting with any students. So I included all the information of the locations and the form that you'll need to take to the fingerprinting technician. But if you have any questions at all, we can talk about that over the phone as well. But again, this process needs to be completed before your first day. Next, the last thing that we'll need from you is just a little volunteer agreement form that your coordinator will provide you on the first day. This is just a short, filling out your contact information so we can include you on our database. But it's a very, quick and easy process. So again, please feel free to email me with a good time that you can chat, and then we'll get you up and running with your first day at our early childhood program. Thanks again for watching our training.